Welcome to the My Creative Days podcast, where we will talk about all things DIY, home decor, decorating tips, and creating a beautiful home on a budget. I am hoping our time together will spark a creative idea, help you plan your next DIY, or inspire you to finally tackle that project you keep putting off. Grab your favorite cup of motivation and let's chat. Hello, happy Monday. Welcome back to another podcast episode. Today, I am going to be talking about flipping houses. But I'm actually going to be a little more specific and talk about the last one that we actually went through and just tell you a little bit about it. And if you subscribe to me on YouTube, I'll leave a link to it in the show notes here. You can see a full video walkthrough of this house, and you will definitely want to, because I won't, as I'm describing it and explaining it to you, you'll want to go see what I'm talking about. And when I started sharing this, I was sharing it over on Instagram on my stories and in Reels, and Instagram shut it down. I couldn't post to my Reels anymore. So I kind of, I segmented it out. Why does that didn't sound right. Anyway, to different rooms in the house. So I was sharing it in different Reels, like this is the kitchen, this is the living room. After I posted 2 videos and people were like, are you kidding me? I could not post any more Reels about this house. So I don't know what it was. It was the house. The house condition was a little crazy, but nothing else was weird about it. So I don't know. And I even tested, I would post other Reels, like some furniture flipping Reels and things on there. And those were posting just fine. But anything else about this house, I couldn't post. So I decided to just put them all together, and I put the full walkthrough on my YouTube channel. So you will have to definitely go over there and check this out, because to see it in person, you just have to see it. So let me give you a little backstory. Now that I can talk about it, I'm just going to tell you a little history about it and how it came about. So first of all, if you're new to this or new to our story, my dad flipped homes from growing up, he did that. He kind of did it on the side. He sold real estate. He did construction. And then if he, got a house or found a house, he would flip it. And then when Matt and I would say after we had both the kids, I would help my dad. Matt and I would help when I was, met Matt and we were together. We would both help do small things. Matt, if you guys don't know this, he did not even know how to swing a hammer when I met him. And so he has learned a ton through my dad and just by doing projects. Now you would never know that. The guy can do so many things, and it's so amazing. And we've kind of learned on our own and just learned so much throughout the process. But so when we were helping my dad, it was, we were like cleaning crew. We could paint, obviously. We would do that kind of stuff. But anything beyond that, it was kind of like, we were just like the labor and just like the muscle behind, picking up items and those kinds of things. But we absolutely loved the process. So we were all in, not all in. We were just his help, if you know what I mean. But we just loved it. And then my dad got to a point where he couldn't do it at all anymore. And so, long story short, Matt and I decided, let's just start doing it on our own. And so we have flipped a few homes. We've had a rental duplex, and we enjoy the entire process. With the way things are right now, it's a lot harder to find houses, just like it is everywhere else. But I am on the hunt for flip houses daily. I do that daily, just as part of my routine. And so, our daughter Gabrielle is actually, she's so funny. She's like the house realtor. We are working with a realtor in some capacity. All of our flips and our duplex we have bought without a realtor and sold without a realtor, but we also have some other real estate things that we're thinking about. So we do have a realtor that's kind of looking for things for us, but Gabrielle is on all the real estate sites daily, hourly, checking things out. And we were sitting at our back porch and Gabrielle said, "Mom, this house on," and she said the address. And I said, "What?" "What are you talking about?" When she said the address, I was we didn't see it. We didn't know it was for sale, but I said, let's get on the horn right now. We're going to call the realtor. I want to walk through it right now. So we called her, and there were only 3 days and 3 2-hour, within those 3 days, there was only 2-hour slots on each day that the city would let you go through it. And I'm like, what is this? Like, I've never run into anything like this. Like, we've gone through houses that are bad and run down and all that, but I was like, okay. Because I said to the realtor, I would like to get in before the open house or whatever. And she said, the way this is worded, she said, let me contact them because it's just kind of worded differently. And it was like we couldn't go in beyond those 2-hour slots that the city had like set aside or whatever for people to go through. So I'm like, okay, so we had to go when everybody else had to go. We also had to sign a waiver to go to this house. So I'm like, what is going on? My first, I want to say there was a word, and I'm not going to remember it right now. I'd have to go back and look, but my first thought and reaction was, okay, there must be mold somewhere in the house. Like, so you do have to sign a waiver to go in, and I totally understand that and get that. But let me backtrack. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. So when Gabrielle said, Mom, so-and-so house is on the market, it's for sale. I'm like, wait a minute, which one is it? Blah, blah, blah. It is actually a house in the neighborhood, very, very, very close to the house that I grew up in. For 23 years, my parents lived there. At 23, Matt and I were trying to do the math because I met him. When I met Matt, the first time I met him, we were at that, still living in that house with my parents. And then when we got married, right around the time, my sister and I got married a month apart from each other. And we both married Matts. Like, what? My poor parents. Okay. We should have got together and planned that a little bit better. But on top of that, my parents were moving out of their home. And I didn't get married at 23. So we were there many years, many, many years. It's like the only house I knew until I got married. And so anyway, all that was happening at the same time. But so this house is very close to that house. And I was so excited to get into this house. The price was fairly low. And so I'm like, okay, this, it must need a lot of work. And then when I knew we had to sign something, I'm like, okay, there's a mold issue. So that, and it must be pretty bad. But I was so thrilled. I knew exactly the house. I knew the lady that used to live there back in the day when we were growing up there. The house was always different than every other house. And it's so funny, when you go back to your childhood neighborhood street, if you've never done that and you get the chance to do it. Because I still live in the same city. I still live where I have grown up. But when I go back to that street, I've never gone back to that street and actually like physically gotten out of my car. I have driven past, and looked at our old house and just to see the changes and how different it is. But this time I actually got to get out and I was, walking around and everything seems so much smaller. Back in the day, it just didn't seem that small. But I remember this house. I remember the lady. She was kind of like her name was Mabel. She kind of like watched over the neighborhood, but yet I don't think she was very friendly. Like she never came out of the house. I don't even remember what she looks like. But back in the day, her house was kind of like, I just remember a lot of trees and like you couldn't really see the house and like it was just a mystery. Like you knew you just walked past that house. You didn't go in her yard. There was an older lady that lived next to her and oh my gosh, she would come out. Her name was Helen. She would come out and talk to us and we would play outdoor kitchen, and she had like this bark that would come off the trees and it was like the best thing for our kitchen. So we would pick those up in her yard and go play with them, and she was amazing. But this Mabel, it was just a mystery. Like you just didn't know. And so anyway, we get back to this house. I get to go through it. I'm so excited. I've never been in it. It was always a mystery. And it's overgrown. I know that Mabel was not the last person in there. She I think passed away a long time ago. But it's one of those things where I was like, oh my gosh, I at least get to go through the house. So we get here. The front facade is still the same. You're going to hear my dog barking in the background. It's summer. The kids are upstairs. It's chaos, right? It's summer break. Anyway, the front facade looked the same. It was overgrown still a bit. There weren't the big, massive trees that I remember. And we did have a derecho come through in 2020 that devastated our city. I mean, it was horrible. And so I think after walking around the house, you could tell that there was a lot of tree damage to the roof and stuff, probably from that storm. But anyway, when we get to the house, the realtor or the person that's opening the house for us to, for people to go through is sitting at a chair in the front yard. So I'm like, okay. And nobody was really going up to the house. So finally I was like, I want to go in it. Our realtor had not made it there yet. And so I just walked up and I said, do we have to sign something? Like, let's go. He's like, oh yeah, here's a piece of paper. And so Matt and I signed it. And he's like, the front door and the back door are open. So I was like, okay. So I walk up on the porch and, if it's a flip house or something you're thinking of investing in or buying, you pay attention to every step you're taking. So that's the front yard. That's the, as you're stepping up onto the porch, how does that feel? Is it, you're just looking at all those things. So as we're kind of checking all that out, I open the screen door and I go to, open kind of like the main door to the house, and it won't budge. Like I can't get in. So I'm like, what? So I tried to push it as much as I could. This realtor guy is still sitting there, not saying anything, which kind of made me a little bit mad. I'm just going to be completely honest. After I saw that, I'm like, what is he trying to, why didn't he say, hey, the front and back door are open, but you're not even going to be able to get in the front door. So try the back, but you're probably not even going to want to go in. Like, just be upfront and honest. It's like he was just sitting there watching everybody not be able to get in. It was just the weirdest thing. I'm just like, what kind of, anyway. So I couldn't open the door because Matt was behind me because of the amount of trash in the house. So what I was able to do, like you could open the door enough to see into the living room. You could see that there was a fireplace, but you could only see the top of the mantle because the bags of garbage were up that high in the house. You guys, I am talking, I'm a short person, and I am talking, up to my chest, if not higher than that, of garbage. All in white bags, all tied up. So I'm like, what is even happening here? Now I see why we had to sign that sheet of paper. But we couldn't even get in the front door. So I'm sticking my arm through the front door with my phone, just trying to take photos like what's behind the door. Because I could not even get in to look behind the front door. So I'm just trying to take all these photos. I could see that there was the ceiling would need some repair. But all you saw was trash. You guys, you have to, after this podcast, go to my YouTube channel because you will not believe me. Go to my YouTube channel. We will link the video in these show notes and go look at this house. So I'm like, okay. And so I didn't even really, Matt's behind me. He's a lot taller than me. He's 6'1". But he just was kind of still looking at the porch, making sure that was all structurally okay. And then like the front bushes and the windows and those kinds of things. And so I just kind of backed out. And he kind of looked at me like, why aren't you going in? Like, okay, let's go in. There's nothing out here that's giving me red flags. Let's go in. And so I just kind of backed away, and then he went in and he was like, oh, he didn't go in. I'm sorry. He just, he was able to just look in like I was. He was like, are you kidding me? So then again, I'm not so mad, but I'm just like, I was just kind of ticked at this realtor, like, let us know. So I said, okay. And one of the things inside the listing, I forgot to say this, but this is a good time. So just after sitting there, your jaw's dropping, you're looking around at whatever you can see. I remembered on the listing, description, it said, the owner wants to be able to have time to come in and get any, it wasn't personal. What was the word? Like sentimental items. But you guys, the trash was up to, 4 feet tall and taller in some areas of trash. So after Matt went in, so I turned around and I looked at that realtor that didn't want to let us know that we couldn't get in. I said, it says that they want to come in. If I'm to buy this and I'm cleaning it out, they want to be here to get sentimental items as I'm shoveling trash out. And he's like, no, it doesn't say that. And I thought, yeah, it does. I know it says that they want time to come get sentimental items. So anyway, I'm like, okay, he's clueless. He doesn't know what he's talking about. So we went around to the back of the house. And again, you're checking out the side of the house, the roof. There was a garage off the alley. So we were kind of looking at that. And then I'm like, okay, let's try door number 2. Let's go to the back door. And so As I opened the back door, right as you went down to the left, you could get like downstairs. Still a lot of like crap everywhere, but you could like get down the stairs. And then, but you couldn't open the back door fully because, you know, if you open the back door fully, there was like 3 steps up into the kitchen, if you can kind of picture that. But the trash was all over the stairs coming down to the back porch. And then here we go again, 4 foot and 5 foot tall, like to the countertop tall of trash in the kitchen. Again, a full video is on YouTube, and I'll tell you how I got the video. So I'm like, oh no. For some reason, I just couldn't even make it down the steps, which you could a lot easier. So I just backed off. There's a deck right there. And then I was talking to some people that were there looking at the house as well. Some people showed up with babies, like in car seats. And me just peering in, I'm like, you don't want to, and none of them took their babies in. But I'm like, no, you don't want any part of this. You should not go in. And they all were like, okay. Nobody took their babies in. But there were some other people there looking at the house. And then I said, doesn't it say somewhere on this listing description that they want time to get their sentimental items out? And they were all like, yes. Our realtor was like, yes, that is part of the deal. So if you wanted to make an offer, you know, we could extend the closing time or the closing date to give them time to get in. But you guys, there was no way these people were getting in this house to get anything out. Seriously. So Matt, being the Matt he is, he then comes in the back. I'm like, I think you can get in the basement, but you can't get up through the kitchen. And he's like, okay. So then he goes down into the basement, and that's a big area. If you're flipping homes, like that's where you want to spend a lot of time. Where, you know, the mechanicals maybe it's the furnace, the electrical panel, like plumbing, you can kind of see down there. You can get a good look at the floors above you, depending on the age of the house and all of that. But the foundation walls, like all those kinds of things, like you really want to spend a lot of time in the basement. And so I just came back down off the deck, and I was talking to this guy that was trying to act like this house is so bad you should never buy it. Well, so then I instantly knew he was writing an offer on the house. So I played his game, and I'm like, yep, we never would. Meanwhile, I knew Matt was really intrigued, but I'm like, yeah, there's no way we're doing this. My husband's fully in there though. Like he's walking around in it. So he's down in the basement, and he's like, Linz, I could hear him say, you know, come here. And so I just opened the back door, and he's like, you can come down here. Look at this. Never, ever, ever have I been to a flip house or anything like this, and I have not been physically able to go in. And I'm looking at him, and there is something there I cannot make it down those stairs. I'm like, Matt, I don't know. I just can't come down. He's like, it's fine. You can walk around down here. I said, I don't know what it is. I just can't go in. I don't know what it is. So I didn't go in. And he knows to film. So he was filming a lot of things. Now here comes our realtor, and I was talking to her. She's like, oh, did you sign the sheet? I'm like, yeah, we've already done that. And she's like, okay. I said, yeah, the front door and the back door are open. And I just wanted to see her face. So I kind of walked to the front with her, and she opened the door, and I was at the side of her standing down off the porch. Her jaw dropped. She's been in some houses. She could not believe this one. I'm like, I just laughed because we were both like, what is even happening? So anyway, so I'm like, well, you can kind of get in the back. You can get down to the basement at least. She's like, okay. You know, because the other realtor, whoever that guy is that opened the house, is sitting there. So, you know, you just kind of, so we get to the back, and I'm like, I know Matt's downstairs, but you can't get into the kitchen. She kills me because she goes in and she's like, oh, okay. So she goes she gets in the back door. This girl climbs the mount trash up into the kitchen. And I'm like, where'd she go? So Matt's coming up the stairs, and he's like, where'd she go? I'm like, well, she just went through the trash. And so he's like, okay, I'm going in. So then they both were, I think that day, those were the only two. And one other younger guy was there, and he actually walked through it all too. That's how I got film of this house. And you guys, he filmed every room, and literally he was on 4 feet of trash with the realtor walking through here to try to look at it. And so it took them a long time to get through the house, and Matt's trying to look at what he can to see, you know, okay, what does it need? What does it? And so he's, oh my gosh, you guys, you have to just see the video. But like inside the kitchen, there are original cabinets that I would not have touched. Unbelievable original cabinets. We don't really know how good the countertop was or the flooring or anything because, again, all the trash. But those cupboards were amazing. I call them more cupboards, but my mom said that our house that we lived in here in this neighborhood had those same ones in there when they bought it, and they tore them down. I'm like, oh my gosh. Anyway, so we saw that. That was super exciting, and I'm seeing it all through his video. And he's, you know, as he makes it to, there were 2 bedrooms, a bathroom, living room, dining room, kitchen, and then the basement. And then there was like a crawl space up above. But he's making it through all the house, and he's not seeing any red flags from, you know, the top of Mount Trashmore to like the ceiling, like nothing really major. Me on the outside, I'm like, okay, so this guy's still talking me out of this house, right? Outside. So I'm like, okay, yeah, there's no way we're buying this, right? I know Matt's interested. So I'm trying to act, you know, I'm looking around, I'm looking at the windows, and some of the windows were unbelievable. Original windows. The house was built in 1920. We have never flipped one that old. But since this house was personal to me, I was just so excited about it. The windows, I was looking at some of the windows I would have wanted to keep, but some we would have replaced. And then I was looking at the roof, like it needed a roof on the house and the garage. I looked at the garage. The siding was still in good condition, what we had to do in the yard. So I was trying to do the perimeter, the outside perimeter looking while he was still climbing through the trash. Like the original fireplace was in there. There was just, we still saw so much potential. We think in the bathroom there may have been some original things inside the bathroom. Again, we couldn't see under the trash. You couldn't even see the sink, the toilet. You couldn't see the tub at all. Like the sink, you guys, or a vanity. We don't know what would have been in there. But he saw some original tile, I want to say, at some point, or original. I can't remember what it was in the bathroom, but we were thinking it could have been original. But the trash was up over a sink, up over the toilet, like over the toilet. Like that's how tall it was. The bedrooms, you could see like the closets and things from the dining room into the hallway. You'll see in the video where it's just like you can only see the top half of the hallway doorway, if you know what I mean, because that there's that much trash. Here's the craziest thing about it. It did not smell. And granted, we were walking through this house in the summer. No central air. And it had the original octopus heating system inside, but it didn't smell. And everybody outside was like, it's because everything is contained in those white garbage bags and everything's tied up. I was really surprised. Now, we've been in some houses in our flipping journey where there's no trash at all on the floor, and the smell inside is so bad where I've had to remove I couldn't walk through the whole house because it smelled so bad. This one, like Matt and our realtor, they were going through the entire house, walking on the trash, and it didn't smell. And I would be able to, I'm kind of, I don't know, I feel like my smeller is really is really sensitive, and I would have been able to smell it standing at the front door or standing at that back door, and I didn't smell anything. It was crazy because we were all talking about it. Everybody that was there to look at it, just even from the door and stuff, said it's crazy that it doesn't smell. So that's just really weird. But anyway, so he comes out, and this guy is still talking to me, and I said, I don't think we can get into the garage. And the guy's like, oh, there's a car in there, and he said the trash is there. It's got trash in it, but it's not as bad as the house, and we couldn't get in the garage to check it out. So it was like, okay, we'll just whatever. So then after they came out, I'm like, let's just step over here, because I didn't want to talk about it in front of that guy where I said we weren't buying it at all. So we went to the front of the house, and then I was just kind of talking about the neighborhood and the things I remember. And Matt's like, I'm really interested. And I said, are you kidding? I said, the garbage alone, the guy that was putting in an offer said that he reached out to like a junk king thing, and it would cost probably about $5,000 just to get it cleaned out without seeing it. And so I'm like, and he's like, oh, we could do this with a pitchfork and a shovel. And he's seeing all the things. At that point, I hadn't seen the videos, but he's trying to tell me the things that he saw. And he's like, there's so much potential. It's such a cute house. And then when I saw the videos, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, look at the dining room, look at the windows, the 2 windows that are on the side of the fireplace. I was just super excited. So we put in an offer. Offers were like the way the whole market is right now. You know, you have a certain day and time you have to have offers in by. So I want to say we went through it on oh my gosh, I want to say it was like on a Sunday, and offers were due Tuesday at noon. And we got our offer in right like at 11 on Tuesday, and we gave them until 9 p.m. to let us know. And I want to say it was like 6 o'clock on Tuesday night. They had let us know that they went with a different offer. Matt was so bummed. And to me, you know, when you're buying and selling and flipping houses and all that, you know, the deal's never done until you've got the keys, and the deal's never done on the other end until you've got the check. My dad selling real estate for so many years, like that was a lesson that he taught us early on when we started flipping on our own. Like, even though you've got a signed offer, something can happen and it may not go through, either side. So I wasn't, and Matt in the beginning, you know, like he came out and he's like, I'm really interested. He's like this and this and this. He's saying everything, but he wasn't talkative beyond that. And that is Matt. Our realtor was there. So then he's just a more quiet, laid back guy. But I could tell he was really interested, but he doesn't get excited about it. At that point, when we were driving home, I'm starting to get excited about it. And, but then when we didn't get it, he was more let down than I was. It was just kind of weird. And I said, it wasn't meant for us to do. It was not meant for us to. We went in with our best price, our best and final. We were not going to do like negotiating back and forth. But they didn't even give us that option. We gave them an extended close date so they could. Once you see the video, there's no way they could have gone in and taken anything out. They could go in and take out whatever they wanted to. Like the furniture, Matt was in the bedroom, the 2 bedrooms, I want to say. And he said at one point he was able to stand on top of a dresser to get more stable ground because there was that much trash in there. But I'm like, how would you even get a piece of furniture out? I mean, I don't even know. But so we went in with a really, really, really good offer, and they went with a different offer, which I would love. It had to have been the money. So I don't know if they went like above and beyond the asking price, or we won't know here for a while, but I am going to be driving back. I am going to see, like, I'm thinking, you know, at least a month or 2. I want to see them just cleaning this thing out because it's unbelievable. These houses, here's the thing. So people, when I was sharing it, everybody's like, it's a hoarder house. It's a hoarder house. Nobody's lived in there for the past 3 years. And I've watched the hoarding shows. I am an organizer at heart. I could organize every day of my life. I'm not even kidding. I enjoy it so much. But there was not even a path. Usually in a hoarder's house, it's a lot of things, right? Like it's a lot of things that they think, you know, are useful or could be useful, or, you know, they bought it 10 years ago and they've got to keep it. But there's an actual path so they can live in the house. This house, there was none of that. There was no path. You couldn't get to a toilet. You couldn't get, I'm just trying to think of your normal like living situation. You couldn't cook or eat in the kitchen or the dining room. You couldn't sleep on a bed. No bed was like, you know what I mean? So this was beyond hoarding, and it's like, I don't know. There were some other things going on, obviously, with this, and nobody has been in there for 3 years. It was a conservativeship, which is kind of, think Britney Spears. So they obviously must have got this person out 3 years ago. There's just no way they could have lived in it like this. So it's beyond hoarding, because everybody said, man, hoarding. No, there was not a lot of stuff in the house. It was all in trash bags. It was just, I've just never seen anything like it. It was so surreal. But yet we saw so much potential, and another one bites the dust. Like, this one wasn't for us. We'll continue to look. We will continue to search, but I was really excited about this one just because, like I said, I know and remember this house. this was my childhood. So I was really hoping we could make this work and bring back this neighborhood back to us for a little bit. But yeah, definitely go and check out the video. This is like a podcast that has to go with a video, because you guys will not, from my description, you won't believe it until you see it. So definitely check it out. We'll put the link in the show notes. I would love to hear your reaction, or please reach out to me on Instagram at mycreativedays, or email me at lindsay@mycreativedays.com. Leave a message on the YouTube, a comment on the YouTube video. I'm adding new YouTube videos every week, so make sure you subscribe over there. But this one, I would really like to hear from you guys and tell me what you think. Do you see the potential? Would you have, one lady, would you have just walked away after you opened the front door? One lady, this was after we were out in front talking about it. We knew we were interested. We were telling the realtor we're going to put in an offer type of thing. And one lady and her husband had just kind of shown up to look at it. And she she opened the front door, saw that she couldn't get in. She was so mad. She was walking down like the front path, and she's like, this should be illegal. I mean, she was loud about it. This should be illegal to sell a house like this. This is like, she just went off. And so, yeah. So some people were angry about it. And when you see the video, you'll be like, yeah, like what the... And how did they let it go this long? And I'm just interested to hear from you guys. So please leave a comment on the video. You can email me or message me on Instagram too. But I'm excited for you guys to see it. And I want to know if you see the potential, or if you would have been running for the hills after you open the front door. Okay, guys, until next time, have a great week. And I will touch base next week. Hello, friends. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I'm grateful that you tune in every week and that you share the show with your family and friends. I love having creative chit chats with you, and my hope is that this podcast will inspire you to try a new project, start a DIY that you've been putting off, and decorate your home exactly how you want it. There are a few ways you can help us with the podcast. Follow the podcast so you don't miss an episode. And if you could take a few minutes to leave the podcast a review, that would help us so, so much. Again, thank you for being here, and I look forward to our chat next week. Bye-bye.